Comedian Phoebe Robinson is making waves in the podcast world.
How would you define the kind of humor you have?
I think it's very like in your face and raw and honest and observational.
I'm 50% black and I'm 50% black as hell.
Is race an important part of your comedy?
Yeah, I think so. I think because, you know, when I stand on stage, people see that I'm a black lady. And I think a lot of times in entertainment, you can get treated differently based on your race.
Even the title of her podcast series makes a point.
Your podcast is called Sooo Many White Guys.
Yeah. Well, I work in podcasting, which is very white male dominated. And I just was noticing like, yeah, I'm just surrounded by white guys, so I just want to kind of poke fun at the situation.
Open, honest, and funny, Phoebe tackles issues of race and gender equality with humor.
I think we always want to walk that fine line of making sure we're entertaining first. Like, we don't mind commenting on something, but we really want to come from a place of uplifting people. Yo, girl, I got that new Two Dope Queens.
In March, Robinson's first podcast, Two Dope Queens, with former Daily Show correspondent Jessica Williams, became the #1 downloaded podcast on iTunes in the first week it came out.
Why podcasts?
Well, podcasts, I feel like they're so intimate in a way. So you just really have this interesting connection with someone that I don't think you get in any other medium.
Guests on our podcast have included Nia Long, Gina Rodriguez, and even Jon Stewart.
We had Jon Stewart on for one episode and I was freaking out and he was like, I listened to the podcast, it's great. I'm like, wait, you've listened to an episode of the podcast? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I'll stop freaking out. But it's really cool to have that kind of stamp of approval.
Robinson grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. After studying screenwriting at the Pratt Institute in New York, Robinson went with a friend to a stand-up comedy class.
I took it at Caroline's. My teacher was Linda Smith, and I fell in love with it. It was just instant. I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
But it wasn't easy to break into the comedy world. Robinson worked as an assistant for 6 years while doing stand-up shows at night.
All right, you guys have been fantastic. I'm Phoebe Robinson. Enjoy the rest of your life.
I read that you would say I would cry myself to sleep a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of tears during those early struggles?
Yeah, just because when you're working that many hours, you're kind of like, you're not making any money doing these stand-up shows. So there's a lot of tough days, but I think that made me stronger.
Robinson tapes her podcast at WNYC Studios in New York, but she showed me the ropes at a podcast studio in LA.
Let's see if it's okay, if it's up to your standards.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
So are you feeling at home here in LA?
Oh, yeah, with the microphone and everything.
So if you were to reverse roles now, and we were to do a podcast, what would you want to know?
I want to know what celebs you would want to date if you were single.
Oh my.
Have a little girl talk.
My husband's not going to watch this, right? No. Well, Rob Lowe was on our show the other day.
Fine wine.
Yes,
that one. Yeah.
Fine wine.
Okay, I like that. Okay.
Yes. What about you?
So Michael B. Jordan, Michael Fassbender. So I like the kind of like beefcakey kind, because I date a lot of like nerdy guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're just weak and like, man, I'm like a little funny nerd, and so that's who I usually date. And that's your podcast. You just did your first podcast.
Yes, we did it.
The person who most inspired this 32-year-old, Oprah.
Have you ever talked to her?
No, I would love to.
You need to get her on your podcast.
I know. Well, the rumor that I've heard is that she has my book. So, Oprah girl, call me. So
her new book, You Can't Touch My Hair. And Robinson is also breaking into TV in a new Amazon show with Kevin Bacon. But comedy is always at the heart of her work.
How would you say that you're cutting edge?
I really kind of self-created my career in a lot of ways. I wasn't waiting to be cast in something. So I really just feel like being in control of your own destiny, I think, is my way of being cutting edge.
What I love about her story, Hoda, is you see a young woman who recognized there was a need for a voice in that space, and she found her voice, and I think she's certainly influencing that landscape.
No kidding, and it's so hard to break through in the podcasting world, and it just is a testament to her how quickly she did. They rose.
Absolutely, and she's smart, and she's funny, and people love to listen to her, and she's going to go real far from here.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.